Well, hello there, it's Michiel van der Watering, Accountable Marketing Expert and a member of MaasB. And in this video I would like to explain the differences between incremental and zero-based budgeting when you're developing your marketing plan and you need the required budget. But first, let's talk about who decides about marketing's budget. And I did a little survey and it surprised me that about 50% of the responses indicated that it's senior management who sets the budget for next year. And the other 50% is equally distributed, and I think the most important one is that you look at next year's or this year's targets, you multiply them with the cost per order and you add the budget that you need to build the brand, and that will make your marketing budget for next year. And I think that's the best thing, because then you look at today and what's happening. So you know the company's targets for next year, and because they come from the business plan, and also you know what the competitive price range will be of your products and services, and you know that from the marketing research. And within the price level we know the allowable cost per order, also referred to as ACPO, and the ACPO tells you how much you can spend on marketing and sales to sell an order. And so now we can decide about how to invest the total of ACPOs, because that's your marketing budget. Well, as said before, this is about the differences between incremental and zero-based budgeting, and it doesn't really matter for the sake of the discussion if you look at it as just a whole year, a whole plan, or just for one marketing campaign. And incremental budgeting, you just look at last year or what you've done before. You take this budget, maybe there are some slight changes, and that refer to some changes in the budget as well. Whereas zero-based budgeting, you really start from scratch and you look at what you're going to do, and you calculate for every item in your campaign how much it will cost and what the investments are that are required to make sure that this item will work. And it will take a little bit more time, of course, than to calculate the needed budget. For both of them there are some advantages and disadvantages. So let's start about the advantages of incremental budgeting. Well, marketeers can manage their activities on rather an unvarying basis, because it's about the same every year. Every campaign will be the same. And as we base our budget on past budgets, the outcome is rather stable and the change is quite gradual. And one doesn't have to get into detail or understand a lot of cost calculations. And there's hardly any arguments between marketeers or departments, because everybody works in the same way, and they all look at what we've done so far, and based on that we decide on the budget. And the overall management of budgets is quite easy, because it's very straightforward, because everybody does it the same way. And when there are some changes in the budget, they can spot them right away, because as said before, the budget is quite gradual. And so any changes in budget will come out very clearly. On the other hand, the disadvantages, it might make marketeers a little bit lazy, because they hardly have to decide or invent any changes, any new ideas. So the focus will be more on spending the budget than on getting a very good return on investment. And if you consider, because you consider that all activities will just continue as they were, you won't make any changes. And on the other hand, the budget might be too low for the required activities, because the cost will go up. Your media agency might charge you more, your creative agency might charge you more, just because prices are rising due to inflation. We might also overlook the potential need for change in resources, because time changes, and therefore we also need another budget. Well, the advantages of zero-based budgeting are that we really reflect on all the activities in the marketing plan and the marketing campaign. And so we really decide on what's really necessary, because we don't want to have anything in the budget that's not necessary. So all costs are calculated against the actual and up-to-date cost as we are living in those days, and we don't look at last year's budget. Well, instead of focusing on spending the budget, we are really keen on getting a high return on investment. So we don't want to have anything in the budget which where we're not very sure of that it's really needed. And all changes in circumstances and in the market are taken into account. The disadvantage of zero-based budgeting are it's rather time-consuming to reevaluate every item in your plans, and might be tempted to focus on short-term strategies. It's also a disadvantage of zero-based budgeting. There's also a chance that marketeers are challenging the process to get more budget than needed, so they don't have to go back to the senior management and get more budget when there are some setbacks or new ideas. Well, marketeers as well as the management really require to have better skills to complete the budget sheet and understand what's getting in there and how costs are calculated. And sometimes marketeers are more in the creative part than on the money part and numbers. There's no reference on deciding about the budget, so that's also receptive to subjectivity, and it's hard to tell whether everything is needed because you come up from scratch and you don't know what you've done so far. And justification of all the items is open to more discussion, more staff is involved, and that might take a little bit longer. Thank you for watching another MaasB Finance and Marketing video, and please pay a visit to the website themaasb.org to have a look at other videos and to see the upcoming events and other information about marketing accountability. My name is Michiel van der Watering, Accountable Marketing Expert and the author of Yes, Accountable Marketing, Accountability for Results-Driven Marketing.